Hello, this is Alex from Centaurus Computers. Here's a short video on a actual computer building process. This is going to be a Centaurus Pollux R3 system. You can find it on Amazon, available on our website as well. So, it's a small compact system in this Roseville case. It's very small, micro ATX form factor. This is B550 motherboard from ASRock, Ryzen 5 3600 processor, some cables, 1TB hard drive, 256 gig SSD, NVMe kind on PCI Express, 16 gig memory, and a simple GT 1030 video card from Gigabyte. It's all gonna be installed in this case today, and that's what we're gonna show you now. Okay, first we're gonna prepare the motherboard. I took it out of the box. I'm gonna use these SATA cables and I/O panel for the back of the case. I don't need anything else from the box, so that's what I took out. I'll leave out the rest. And first, I'm gonna remove these top brackets for the CPU cooler because we're gonna be using AMD stock cooler, which does not require those. Throwing them out. You can keep them just in case, because there are some coolers, if you want to upgrade to like liquid cooler in the future, some liquid coolers use those brackets. I don't need them, I got a whole bunch of them. Now, the processor. Carefully open up the box, don't drop the processor, we don't need the box. That's the CPU here, some manuals, I keep them, that's our cooler. Now, thermal paste already here. It's a basic stock AMD Wraith Stealth cooler that comes with 3600 processors, and we're gonna be installing it in this system. And it has got 4 screws here which go in these 4 holes. That's why I removed the top brackets, because they are not required here. To install the processor, lift up the bracket lever here. Now, there is a little corner here. You're not going to be able to see it on the video, I bet. And there is a little golden corner here as well. But, as a rule of thumb, if you put motherboard with rear ports towards you, and then you see on the processor says Ryzen, if you can read it, you can put it in the slot, like this. If it doesn't fit, don't force it in. You're going to bend the pins and void the warranty. That's it. The sticker you can put it on the case later if you want. I'm gonna keep it here on the side. Now, the thermal paste, that's a lot of it. They really put a lot of it. You really need like a pea-size drop or maybe less. So, if you ever gonna remove that cooler once it's installed and you remove it, you'll see that thermal paste is gonna be spread all over the processor, like all over the side of it, and it's just nasty. So what I'm doing is removing the excess on the sides, and it's not gonna hurt anything because whatever's in the middle gonna spread out to the sides, and still it's probably gonna be too much, but it's gonna look better either way. Now I removed that. What I'm doing next is placing it on top, so all holes match with those screws, and there are springs on the sides. There are springs here, so when you start screwing it in, you have to press on the screwdriver a little bit, and you can hear the resistance of the spring. You can literally hear it here. So thread in all the screws, just a few turns to make sure got it. Now it's already holding in place and backplate's not gonna fall, and it's better to install the CPU cooler while you have motherboard on the table, because once it's inside of the case and you remove top brackets, that backplate gonna fall and you have to support it somehow from the bottom. That's the easiest way. Now you can finish them off one by one in a pattern like this. Do not do one side and then the other. Go across and then here. Do not over tighten them as well, because you can damage the screws. Now I'm gonna hide the wire under the shroud here, so it's gonna look pretty, just like that. That's it. The CPU is installed, motherboard is ready to go into the case. Grab the front panel from the bottom and remove it like this. There is an opening for your hand here, so you just pull it off. There are also some spots here where you can secure the front panel with screws if you ever break any of those plastic tabs, but you shouldn't need that. Okay, so we removed the front panel to keep it safe and secure. Now we're going to remove side panels. Just slide them back like this. 1, 2. Okay. The power supply is already installed in this case, so I'm not going to be showing you how to install it, but it's very simple. You just slide it in. 4 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can turn it upside down with the fan facing up, so you're going to be using then this, and this hole. But it's not recommended because it's better for power supply to draw air from the bottom. That's why there is a meshed filter here, and it exhausts hot air from the back. Now if you're gonna put it on some high carpet or something, and if you have a lot of dust on your floor, that part's gonna become really dusty with time, block the airflow, and power supply may overheat, so just watch it. Power supply already in, so we don't need to do anything with it. Now release all these cables here. Okay, that's just power supply cable. We're gonna keep it for future use. Now there are a bunch of wires coming from the front panel. As you can see, there is power button here, reset, LED indicators, USBs, audio connectors. These are all of them. USB 3.0, USB 2.0, audio connector, HD audio, and that's for HDD LED, power LED, reset button, and power button. So they're all going to be connected to the motherboard. Now, best way to route them is to hide them somewhere. And that's what we're going to do. Just like that. Do not pull on them because you can break the connections on the front and then you have to solder them. Now we get rid of those cables. All the cables gonna be going through the back of the case, so you're not gonna see them. There is no window in this case, but still it's better to hide them out of the way so they do not restrict the airflow or anything like that. And if there is a window, it's gonna look much prettier that way. So all the cables going to the back. Some connectors are sharp, so be careful with that. Like that. Carefully pull them to the back. Nothing left here. This wire, I'm going to show you. This. I'm going to take a zip tie. There are going to be a motherboard and a CPU fan connector here. So what I'm going to do, just grab it like that. Make a bunch like this, and then use a zip tie. Then I'm gonna connect it to the motherboard later. Okay, now nice and clean here, a bunch of wires in the back. I'm gonna install the motherboard and connect everything as we go. Let's see. Spare parts, some zip ties, screws. You open the bag up. Okay, now the motherboard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mounting points. You have to match them up with what you got in your case. In this particular case, I can see that this standoff is here. It should be here for this particular motherboard because it's really small motherboard. So I'm using tools like this, just a screwdriver. I'm moving that standoff here. Do not over tighten. You're gonna strip the thread. Now we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Some bigger motherboards gonna use 7 and 8, but in this case it's only 6. Rear input-output panel shield. This metal things here, I just flatten them a little bit so they don't stick out too much, but you don't have to bend them back and forth out of the way because they are actually needed for a contact in case there is a short or something. They're gonna be contacting the ports on the back of the motherboard. So you place it like this, just align carefully and then push it in till it snaps in place. That's it. Now I'm ready to install the motherboard. Carefully goes in like that. Make sure no wires anywhere. Match the rear ports and the holes here. All 6 of them. You take a screwdriver. Now there are screws. It's hard to see on the camera. Smaller thread on this one with a flat head like this. That's a bigger one, that's for power supply and like video cards. Those with smaller thread like this are for the motherboard in most cases. Well, it's hard to get it in focus because it's so small, but you'll figure it out. Just try a few, don't force them again. If it doesn't go in, probably doesn't belong there. 6 of them. 1, 2, let me see, I got a bunch here. 3, 4, oops, 5. Magnetic screwdriver helps a lot in this case. And the last one, find one here. Okay. And this wire, like I showed you before. Now I'm ready to connect it. It's case fan header right in this place. A little dark, but it's there. Okay. Make sure the cable is not getting in the fan. Connect cables from the case front panel to the motherboard. They all gonna go here along the bottom edge. One gonna go here. So, taking those wires, I usually start with this one. Just make them a little longer. That's your power, reset, and LED indicators. I'm gonna put it through this hole to this side. Now, here's a block here that we're gonna be using. Top 4 are for a little integrated speaker if you've got one. I don't have it here. Now, next, 2 on the bottom, HDD LED, and the way you install it is always gonna be like that. You don't have to look up where is the plus and minus, but it's important for LEDs. So, you look at it, you see where it says HDD LED plus minus, you turn it upside down, and there is a little arrow here. That's gonna be your first pin. Well, it might be different on some other cases, but it's pretty much always like that. You read HDD LED, turn it upside down, and insert in the two left bottom pins. Now, power LED, they're always going to be separate. Plus goes first in the top row, so it's first pin in this block for plus, second pin for power LED minus. Then you can read the manual, it's always there. Reset. For switches it doesn't matter if you put them like this or like this, it doesn't matter. So third and fourth pins on the bottom for reset switch, third and fourth pins on the top row for power switch, and we have one blank left and one 0 pin at the end. We're not going to use them. So these are for LEDs, power switches, reset switches, stuff like that. That's it. Now the rest of them. What we've got here. USB 3.0, that blue one, the biggest connector. Find it here. So I'm gonna be using either this or this opening. Now there is a plastic notch on the side. Match it up with the slot. These pins are really thin and really easy to bend. Once you bend it, there is no way back. You have to replace the whole motherboard. So be really careful with them. Align the port. Snap it in. The last two. Let's see. I'm gonna cheat a little here. Bend a little this part. It's not gonna hurt it much. Not a big deal. Nobody's gonna see it. Now USB can fit through here, and HD audio is gonna fit through this hole. Like this. Now let's look on this side. USB. 5 pins, 4 pins, and one blocked here. So you insert it like this. Boom, it's ready. You can route them here, but you see it's not gonna look as pretty as this. Audio is always gonna be here. 3 pins, 1 blank, 4th, and 5 on the bottom. Match it up with the connector. You see 1 blocked here. It's a top row. Make sure it's on top. Do not force it. Done. Nice and pretty. Everything is in the back. And I'm not going to be using these holes here. That's for SSDs. We use an M.2 SSD, so these are not going to be used. And there's still space to place another one here and one here, so it's plenty of space to put extra SSDs. Now, for the cables. I usually arrange them in some way so that they're gonna be looking pretty and allow me to close the side. So they should lay flat without too much tension, and at the same time look pretty and functional. So you can use zip ties, you can use those wires too. Okay. It's gonna be like this, laying flat, not in the way of anything. Now, the power supply. We just need a couple of wires here. The video card does not require any extra power, so that power supply is pretty basic, so all the wires are like rainbow soup here and not braided, but it doesn't matter because there is no side window, nobody gonna see anything. 24, it's 20 plus 4 main power, that's what we're gonna use. As for the video card, 6 plus 2, 2 of them, so 8 plus 8 total. Not gonna use them, our video card doesn't require them. Another wire that we're gonna use is this 4+4 for CPU, and we're actually gonna need only 4 of them. And it's gonna be, well, I'm not sure which one is it gonna be, but it's only one of them gonna fit there, so it's okay. And this SATA for SSDs, hard drives, older Molex connectors, usually used for stuff like fans, rarely used these days, honestly. I'm gonna bunch them up like this. I'm gonna use Velcro here. You can always change it later, it's just so that it doesn't actually. Let me put that video card power connector here too, since we're not using it. Use on Velcro to put together. Now, as I said, the CPU power, and let's see, there is a hole here on top which I'm gonna be using. Now let's see if this one will fit. There's only a 4-pin connector here. Usually it's 8. This is just cheaper motherboard, so it doesn't. Okay, this one doesn't fit. Let's try the other one. When it's 8-pin, it's easier. You just plug the whole thing. Okay, snap. This one's done. Okay. Main power. Route it through this hole, bend it a bit like this so it's easier. Support the motherboard underneath when you do that so it doesn't bend too much, and it should snap in place. Now we've got them in the back here. What I'm gonna do is use some zip ties here to connect this all together so it's in one piece, and that extra lead is not going to be dangling around like that. Now it goes here, so you can kind of use the trim of the case to hide it, but it's not a big deal. If there are extra points for zip ties or anything, you can use them, it's up to you. For example, let me see if I can do that. Now, this, maybe this. Okay, like that. Okay. It's not in the way anymore. Now with this one, a little more complicated. It's up to you how you want to route it. Let me see, I'm gonna try something here, something creative like this. It's up to you what you want to do. Just make sure the cables do not overlap too much, because they're gonna be too thick and you'll have issues closing the side panel. It's gonna be fine like that. And these cables I'm just gonna hide later somewhere. I'm gonna leave them for the end and see where I have some space left. Now we're gonna install the storage drives. So there's a caddy for the hard drive here. Usually all the hard drives gonna be in this portion right in front of the power supply under the motherboard. In most cases you'll see some kind of attachment system for hard drives. So let me see, slide it in, snap it in place, and it's not gonna fall out, but I'm always using screws to secure it, because if you ever have to move your computer or ship it somewhere, it's gonna fall out. and you don't want that hard drive flying all over your case. A couple of screws gonna be just enough. Okay, like that. Data cables. There are two of them. I'm gonna leave one on the side and use only one. Now let's see. There are two connectors. That's gonna be your power and your data cable. So if I'm gonna use, now let's see, what would be the best way to do that? Maybe like this. Now like this. You see, it's not symmetrical, so you have to make sure you insert it the right way, and don't break it. They are really fragile. This again, it's gonna be inserted like this with this latch on top. Like this. To remove it, you press it and slide out. Now, the other side of that cable gonna go into the motherboard. So I'm gonna hide it under the hard drive like that. On this side, let's see here, goes in here, one of those SATA ports. Okay, so most of the cable is hidden. Now I only have to figure out, let's see, I'm not going to do anything else on this side, so now all I have to do is just make sure these cables are sitting flat like that. I'm not going to secure them here or anything, they just have to sit flat. There is no side window, so nobody's going to see them. This side is done. Place this and slide. That's it. Two screws in the back. 1, 2. Okay. Now everything else that we're gonna do is gonna be on this side. We got M.2 NVMe PCI Express based SSD. So take it out of the box. Okay. It goes right here. That's your M.2 connector, and that standoff already pre-installed here. That's the correct length for this SSD. Now all we need is just a little screw that came in that little baggie here. So I'm going to take that screw out. It's really tiny, so you need some kind of little screwdriver, and preferably magnetic too. Now I'm going to install the SSD. Just slide it in like this. Hold it with your finger and insert the screw. Do not over tighten it. That's it. That's the installation of M.2 drives. Really easy, no wires, no power, no data SATA cables. Really simple. So it's my preferable way to install SSDs. Now what else? We've got one fan here. Since it's really not complicated system, we're not gonna use extra fans. One is enough. It's never gonna get too hot. Memory. We got a set of 2 sticks and only 2 RAM slots here, since a budget motherboard. You match this cutout with the plastic notch here. Shorter side is going to be on the right if you will place computer case like this. So you insert it, you open that side tab here. This side is fixed, so you just slide it in, push it with your thumb fingers and help with your index finger on this side until it clicks in place. Take a second. push it in, it clicks, we're done. Memory is installed. Let's see what else we've got. CPU, memory, storage, motherboard in place, power supply connected. We've got video card. Video card, that processor does not have an integrated video here. So there are a bunch of ports here. HDMI, DVI, VGA, none of them are gonna work because that processor does not have an integrated GPU, so that motherboard ports cannot provide any video output. And please remember it, it's important because some people for computers like this with dedicated video card that we're going to install here now, they try to use these ports and they don't work and they complain that the computer doesn't output any video, and the reason is because they're using wrong ports. That's why I'm going to do something like this. Let's see. Boom. Put it here. Try to close them, or sometimes I would use duct tape so people would not try to plug anything into them, because we're gonna have a video card in here now. It's really basic. It's not gaming video card, GT 1030, so this is not a gaming computer. If you will install some kind of advanced video card, anything starting from GTX 1650 and up, it's gonna run games. This will not run most of the games. So what we do is remove this, try not to touch those golden contacts here. Now we have to unscrew this, leave that metal part up. Now there is a screw for one of the back panels. We remove that screw, remove this metal piece. Now we're going to insert the video card. Okay, just like that. Align it with the slot, PCI Express 16X slot here. Press on top carefully. It snaps in place, and there is like a ledge here on the back which gonna snap up and lock the video card in place. Now you can lower this, install that screw, make sure it's all straight and tight here, and that's pretty much it. I will install the front panel, the side panel, but the computer itself is ready. The video card is in there. We're going to be using this HDMI and DVI ports for video output, memory, CPU, everything is installed. That's pretty much the whole process. You don't need anything else. Thank you for watching and have a good day.